Honor Flight Network is a collection of volunteers all over the country in 138 cities and 44 states that has made it their purpose to get as many World War II, Korean, and Vietnam veterans out here to see their memorial before it's too late.
As a network, as of this year, we have flown, I think safely, conservatively, over 120,000, 130,000 veterans.
I started Honor Flight back in 2005, about 6 months after the World War II Memorial had been dedicated and opened up to the public. At that time, I had about 300 World War II veteran patients at a VA clinic in Springfield, Ohio, and I was giving them all a high five. I said, "Congratulations, you have a memorial." I said, "What do you think about that?" And every one of them felt that it was great, it was overdue, and that they wished that their friends would have lived long enough to see it. And I said, "Well, what about you? Are you going to go see it?" And every one of them felt that sooner or later a son or a daughter or their VFW post would facilitate a trip like that. But because they're my patients, and you see them at 3 months and then 6-month follow-up visit, sadly not one of them had been to the memorial. And worse yet, reality had set in. They were never going to see their memorial. So in addition to being a physician assistant and a private pilot, I just started recruiting other pilots. And we were bringing them out 2 at a time in 6 aircraft. That was our first flight.
And I told my wife, I said, I think I'll try to take every World War II veteran in Henderson County, our county, up to see the memorial. And have to sit down and really figure out how to do it. So we talked about it and decided the best way to do it is charter. And I'd heard about a guy named Earl Morse. I'd read an article on him in a Charleston, South Carolina paper. And he was flying 2 veterans at a time in private planes. And I called Earl, I tracked him down and called him and told him what I wanted to do.
Jeff Miller is a force of nature. He saw what we were doing, and he said, "How can we make that happen in North Carolina?" And I said, "Well, what you do is you find some private pilots or maybe a regular scheduled flight that goes into Washington, D.C. He said, "That's not going to work, Earl."
He said I should try and find a bunch of pilots, and I told him I didn't want to do it that way, that I wanted to charter an entire jet.
We don't have scheduled flights to Washington, D.C. We're going to charter an entire jet. And I said, "How much is that going to cost?" And he said, "It's going to cost $70,000. Well, we'd been at it for a year. We'd only raised $30,000. And I said, "Good luck, Jeff. You know, I'll help out in any way that I can."
Well, we didn't have any direct flights out of my little area of the state. So I told him I really want to do it with charter. And he said, "Well, good luck and keep me posted."
We'd really appreciate it if you would, not call yourselves Honor Flight. If you would call it something else, we'd appreciate it, because if this fails, it might give our fledgling organization a bad name. I was so wrong. Jeff, being as dynamic as he is, and the cause being as timely as it is, was able to engender the public there in North Carolina, and he wrote the book on how to do a charter flight operation. And most veterans that come to Washington, D.C. today are usually brought on by charter flight operations, which Jeff Miller started.
One of the programs that I'm most proud of within our organization is the TLC program, and that's Their Last Chance. And it's terminally ill veterans diagnosed with a terminal disease, a year or less to live. And we take them from all over the country, all era, Vietnam, Korea. The World War II veterans are funny. They say they're all terminally ill, but we always work with the World War II guys first anyway.
It's always a measure of how you've helped other people. And I believe that success is measured by not only the number of people that you can help, but also the degree to which you help them. Like a lot of the veterans that come here on a trip like this, they had given up all hope of ever seeing their memorial. And to be able to make that happen for them, it's life-changing. So I believe that helping other people and focusing on doing that, that's how success is measured.
What I found out, more than just that these veterans are so wonderful to spend the day with, was there were so many people out there that cared. There's so many people stepped up to help that happen. And the more I thought about it and the more I talked to the veterans and things, and I started looking back, my greatest lesson is there's always hope. No matter where you get, and I've hit hit the wall a couple of times since then. What they showed me, they dealt with, and what I learned through interaction with them, that there's really always hope. There's no reason to quit. And maybe that sounds corny or something, but it really is. I don't give up easy. I'm pretty stubborn, and I do believe that what we do, and as a byproduct of that, is that we give people an opportunity to do something good, and there's usually a lot of people out there that'll jump right in.
There is something innate in all of us that I believe brings us true joy when we can make that kind of a change in somebody's life. And at Honor Flight, we do it on a grand scale, and we do it at a level that I just marvel at. I am amazed at how many people that we touch across this nation, and that brings us real joy and happiness.